What am I saying? Welcome, Miracles Tribe members and members of our Miracles Attraction community on Facebook. I'm Teresa McGallagher from the Miracles Tribe, here today with my partner, Carly Hardy, and we have another interesting guest for you in our series of people whose lives have been positively impacted by their practice of A Course in Miracles. Our guest today is Susan Telford, coming to us from Scotland. Carly?
Wow. Thank you, Teresa. And thank you, Susan, for being here with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
A real treat. Yes. And we're sure that our community is excited to hear your story. So, Susan Telford is a coach, writer, poet, and spiritual midwife. She was formerly a high school teacher and in 2016 had a complete burnout that ended her career and sparked a spiritual awakening. Susan describes this as the fierce grace she needed to get her to listen to the inner wisdom she'd been ignoring for years. So we'll just start with that, the burnout and the fierce grace that came, and let you tell us a little about that journey. Thank you.
Okay, so as you said, I was a high school teacher. I'd actually gone to university when I was 43 to do a degree in mathematics and become a teacher. It was a kind of career change. And I absolutely loved that job and felt that it was my vocation at the time. I really did. I was working in a pastoral role, and it felt as though it was where I was supposed to be. And yet I'd known really since early childhood, I'd had a spiritual side to my nature. It began when I was a little girl, probably 5 or 6 years old, sitting on the pavement, which I think is not what you call pavement, the side of a road, on the sidewalk, eating an orange ice lolly and looking up at the sky. And I have a really vivid memory of this. This is 53 years ago, probably. But I can remember the orange juice coming down my arm. I can remember looking up in the sky and the rays coming down and thinking I could climb up to where God was. And something happened that I couldn't explain at the time. Obviously, I was a small child. But I think, looking back, it was a oneness experience where everything just merged. Hard to explain. And after that, I had a real thing about Jesus. In first grade, I cried huge tears at the song "There Is a Green Hill Far Away," because how could those men do that to Jesus? So I had this kind of connection. In my teens, I became a born-again Christian. In my late 20s, I became a Buddhist. I've searched and searched and searched to try and satisfy the spiritual longing that I had. So even as I became a teacher and loved teaching, I knew that there was something else calling me. There always had been. In the early 90s, I actually started an online business, which was very unusual in those days, and it was called Stella UK, helping you be the star of your life. And it was I wanted to help women to be their best selves, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That was what felt like what I was here to do. But that was difficult, and the voice in my head said, "Who are you to do that? What will people think of you? You don't have the qualifications. Do something safe." So my safe job was to be a maths teacher. But as we know, grace comes. If we don't listen to the whispers, then the voice gets louder and louder and louder until, in my case, it banged me over the head and caused a complete burnout, which really was severe. I was in bed for 6 months. I tried to go back to school because I was still holding on to this, oh, I love being a teacher and I'm doing good work. And I went back 3 days a week and it didn't work. And I went back 2 days a week and it didn't work. And eventually, as I said, I was in bed and I had a really scary experience. One morning while I was lying in bed, I just turned around to look at my husband and the whole side of my face drooped and I couldn't speak. And I thought that I was having a stroke. My husband also thought I was having a stroke and called 999, our equivalent of 111. And I was blue lighted to the hospital, sirens going 100 miles an hour up the road to the hospital. And I really, really thought I was going to die. And I thought my husband was following in the car and I thought I'm going to die here on my own because I've pushed myself so hard and ignored all of the signs, all of the kind of inner wisdom that I knew that I was not here on earth to be a maths teacher, and I just ignored it. And there was actually one period where it was around about my 50th birthday where I decided to burn all my journals because all my journals were full of spiritual writings and all my spiritual longing, and that had gone on since, as I said, since my teens, and I had years and years and years of journals. And when I was a teacher and was becoming established in my job, I decided that's enough of all that woo-woo stuff. I'm going to just, one of the voices in the head was, why can't you just be normal, Susan? Why do you're a stop all this stuff. You're not here to work with women. The spirit, go to church if you're spiritual. Just give it all up. And I burned all those journals. So in that ambulance, in the hospital, I thought, okay, I'm going to listen. I'm going to start to listen. And as I said, I was in bed for 6 months, and all I did for those 6 months was watch the trees outside my bedroom window because I was in such a state. I couldn't read for any length of time. I wasn't writing in my journal very much. I was just so exhausted and also quite depressed because it felt as though, this life that I'd kind of built up for myself, that it had all been taken away. I'd lost my job, I'd lost my health. I was feeling in a really, really quite a bleak place. I didn't understand. I was angry. I was really angry. And, I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do now? What's my life going to be like now? Because I went to university and I did the degree and I worked hard and I, was successful as a teacher, and now it's all gone. And how am I going to get out of this? And how am I going to get out of bed? How am I going to get back to being the happy, kind of joyful person that I'd been? How am I going to do any of it? And in that moment, I realized that I was being breathed, that far from me having to decide how to get out of bed, what was coming next, how I was going to put my life back together, I wasn't even in control of my next breath. That every breath is a gift. And I'd completely overlooked the help and the connection that's always there. And that recognition of being breathed changed everything. Because physically after that, I recovered really quickly. I'd been in bed for 6 months. I would get up and go for a shower, and it would take hours to even stop feeling dizzy. That's the level of fatigue and brain fog and just debilitation. Is that a word? I don't know the word, debilitate. You know what I mean? Being debilitated that was going on. And within a few weeks, I was just back to normal. And I was journaling and journaling and journaling and writing. I started to write a blog. I thought I'm going to write this. I'm going to do this blog, and poetry started to come. I mean, I was a maths teacher, I wasn't a poet, but poetry started to come, and that has never stopped. And I just started to listen. It was like, okay, here I am on the ropes. You take over now. And my life completely changed. I trained as a coach. That just popped in one day. Oh, be a coach. And initially I started to coach women who were burning out. I worked with a lot of teachers who were burning out. And then I realized, just like me, for the women who were burning out, there was some calling, something they knew that they were here to do, but they had listened to the voice in the head that told them they couldn't do it, or their parents who'd said, well, it's all very well wanting to be an artist, but let's get a proper job. That sort of thing was common, very common in the clients that I worked with. And then gradually, as we spoke about these things, it always came back to the spiritual life, because what is that voice? What is the voice that's telling you, try this, do this? And one day I was coaching a woman that I'd been coaching for a couple of years, and she said, you're not like a life coach anymore, Susan, you're a spiritual midwife. And that just went boom, hit me right between the eyes, and I thought, that's what I am. But as you know, that's not all I do. One of the clear pieces of guidance that came in for me was about teachers of God. I was writing in my journal about, I thought I was meant to be a teacher. I don't understand this. I thought that was my vocation, and out of my hand came, yes, but you're not a teacher of mathematics. You're a teacher of God. And so I thought, because I had obviously read the course. I'd got the course in 1997, I believe. The first thing I ever read was Marianne Williamson's Return to Love. And I thought, I need to get this Course in Miracles. What's this? But I would read it a bit, and I'd think, I don't understand this. I'd get quite angry with it and chuck it in the bin. Or I've had so many copies that I've sold on Amazon. But I always kept getting another copy and putting it up on my bookshelf. And I'd never actually got to the manual for teachers. So Teachers of God, I thought, what's this? So I Googled Teacher of God, and the Teachers of God Foundation came up. I thought, interesting. So I did Lisa's 40-day program, really liked that. That really got me back into the course. And this thing kept coming up in my journal over and over and over again, over a period of months, about being a teacher of God. And I thought, what does that mean for me? And I just had this impression just to write to them and tell them my experience. So I just wrote a kind of very short version of what I've told you here. And I said, you might think I'm nuts, because imagine, some woman in Scotland writes to these complete strangers and basically says, I've got to work for you. And Bill Free said to me, emailed me back and said, let's chat on Zoom. So I got on Zoom with him, and he said, what can you do? I don't know. I mean, I didn't know what does a teacher of God do? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, the upshot of it is, almost 3 years I started to work for the Teachers of God Foundation, as well as the now Evolve Community Manger, which is just, it's been such a wonderful opportunity, to work with teachers of Course in Miracles and non-duality. And I absolutely love managing the community and building community, and it's such a good kind of dovetail with the work that I do on my own. So that's my story. I don't know if you want to ask me any questions or.
And such a lovely story, Susan. We really appreciate you sharing with us. Will you please tell our audience about your website and how they can find your coaching services?
Yeah, of course. So my website is www.susantelford.com. And the main offering that I do is a group coaching. I do one-to-one coaching, but primarily I do a group coaching program, which is called Slowing Down to the Speed of Grace. And that phrase came in my journals probably 2017, 2016, 17, as I was recovering. I wrote down that the way that I would recover was by slowing down to the speed of grace. And I thought, what does that mean? I had no idea what it meant. I remembered that there had been a book years and years ago called Slowing Down to the Speed of Life, but this was slowing down to the speed of grace. So all of my work, it's funny because all of my work has been informed by my own journey. And I suppose that's the way it goes, isn't it? That we experience things ourselves and then we use that. But that's my primary thing, and it's teaching women. I only work with women. It's teaching women how to slow down, how to come to understand that voice in the head that tells them that they can't do things. That, I call it the inner bitch. Which is quite, some people kind of gasp when I say that's a bit harsh, but that voice can keep us from fulfilling our potential, from actually waking up and living the life that we're here to live, and do the work that we're here to do. So the first part is teaching them how to look at where that has come from, and how to move from primarily listening to that to listening to that inner wisdom that always knows the way, knows exactly what is right for you in every moment. So that is slowing down to the speed of grace. It's my
Thank
baby.
you. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and how you're shining your light in the world. We feel really blessed to have you as our guest today.
Thank you so much.
Yes, with grace, with grace.
With grace.